Name is Melvin. Come on up.
Hello, y'all. I'm an addict named Melvin.
Give it up.
First thing first, I'd like to thank the God of my understanding for allowing me another day clean. And that I ain't used no drugs or nobody today, and for that I'm grateful. You know, Narcotics Anonymous work and we do recover. You know, I was just sitting here thinking about the vicious cycle. You know, I was saying, you know, I got a disease, right? And it's my thinking, and it tells me that you ain't shit and you ain't gonna never be shit. You know, but my disease is a liar. You know, I need to tell you, I just celebrated 8 years in Narcotics Anonymous. And I wish I could stand before you and tell you that all 8 of those years are recovery clean time. You know, I need to say 5 of it is recovery and 3 of it is you can call what you want. You know, I like to dedicate this meeting to a sponsee of mine. 4 o'clock in the morning before I came to Boston, a sponsee of mine called me on the telephone and told me he was in the penitentiary. And I didn't actually speak to him, but somebody called my house, right, and they said, do you know somebody by the name of, you know, Anonymity?
Come on, Melvin. Come on.
And what happened for me was I got a feeling inside, man, and I knew that this guy wanted me to show up for him, man. But I knew something inside told me, man, that for the first time in your entire life, Melvin, you got to learn how to show up for yourself.
Come on. There you go.
And it's not that I don't love him, man. It's just that I love me just a little bit more. And I knew that I made a commitment to this way of life. You know, if you read the 12 steps, it talks about having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. You know, the 12 steps for me is like being tired on the railroad track, y'all. And here comes an oncoming train. And right before the train come run you over, somebody come and they untie you. And they save your life. You kind of feel like you owe your life to that person. And in the 12 step for me, it's like I owe my life to Narcotics Anonymous. And I knew by coming up here to Boston, man, that I might be able to help somebody. They said in our literature, you know, the more we help people, there's always still somebody that needs help. So it doesn't matter who you help in this program. Somebody is always going to need some help. And I thought about that when my sponsee was on the phone. I knew that I could have helped them, but there were some other people that I knew still needed help. And I had to show up in spite of. You know, and he all right. Because he called back. You know, we call back, we in a dilemma.
Come on, Melvin. Bring it around.
He talked to my people at home. He all right. You know, through our own inability to accept personal responsibility, we actually create our own problems. You know, but I want to talk about this vicious cycle, man, because, you know, I've been in a vicious cycle ever since I've been clean. You know, and I need to tell y'all, like, this vicious cycle just didn't start being clean. It started way back when I was youth. You know, there's some real important words in the vicious cycle. Vicious. Hey, man, listen, man, you know, I got this topic today. Last night, rather, you know, I ain't bring my dictionary. Because anybody who know me, I'd have looked that shit up.
Come on, Melvin.
You know, because I need to tell y'all, I'm not one of those addicts, man, who come up here with like a whole lot of information. I'm one of them addicts who seek information first, before I start spreading the disease around. You know, so I ain't getting an opportunity, right, to look it up, right? So I'd like to tell you, I don't know what vicious means. You know, but I have an idea of what getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. Can you relate that to vicious? They say, man, literature is language. And thank God I read the book, man, and I'm still reading it because, man, most of the things in my life today correspond with the NA text. You know, I like to speak about the NA text a lot. Because, you know, I need to tell y'all, like, you know, when I came to this program and Knock Out It's Nothing, before I came to this program, you know, I used to hang out with some real intelligent people.
Right.
I mean, they used to stand around the fire can with the New York Times up under their arm, and they talked about current events and how to solve world problems. And these people were my role models. So when I looked up in Who's an Addict, it says we are misinformed people. I knew I was in the right place. You know, so being caught up in the vicious cycle, you know, I come from, you know, see you talk about being a product of a neighborhood, and you know, and that seems to be so true. You know, I grew up in the projects. So I'm a project kid.
Come on, Melvin.
My whole life was centered in one way or another around the projects. And if you didn't live in the projects, you had to pay dues and fees. Because we felt that you had to pay homage to the less unfortunate. And you know, and being from that part of town, man, and living in that kind of environment, man, you know, your living skills were reduced to animalistic levels. The capacity to feel human was lost. But the whole idea of the state of being is that you had to survive or you will pay the cost of living in the projects. You know, being in the projects, if you didn't have a certain kind of reputation, you get your ass whipped. So I grew up with some brothers, right? I had 5 brothers, man. And when we moved in the projects, right, you know, we were new in the projects. You know, so like we had to build our family's reputation. Because people there were already established. And so, like, when we moved in, man, it was like, you seen that family come in? And, like, I used to go outside, right? And they, you know, and I would be in the center playing pool, and they had a bully. There's always a bully in the project.
Everywhere.
And the guy took my game, man. He said, you ain't got next shorty. Get away from him. I said, listen, man, let me tell you something, man. You don't want to take my game. And he looked at me, he said, man, listen, man, you can go get anybody you want. So I went home and I got all 5 of my brothers. And when we came down, right, and the dude told one of my brothers, he said, listen, man, if you want to fight him, 1-on-1. And they jumped his ass. So my family, like, started that reputation of if you fuck with one of them, all 5 of them is going to kick your ass. And it started a vicious cycle because what it did for me, it built up some false courage. Now that I knew my brothers would be able to back me up, I would provoke people. She talked about being a perpetrator all of a sudden. And that's how I started living my life. I started starting stuff. You know, listen, I'm talking about fights, man. I mean, I couldn't fight a lick. One time I had a fight with a dude where I didn't have a fight, he won. I remember, being caught up in this vicious cycle of believing that my brothers were going to take care of every little fight I get into. I started something with this guy, man. The dude told him, man, yo, listen, man, he got 5 brothers. They always jump people. And the dude said, fuck them. Pow! tell you, sometimes there are ways to break the cycle. You know, but I like to really start like getting into, you know, I mean, I'm really overwhelmed, man. I don't know about nobody else being clean, but I'm like really overwhelmed to be spared from insanity, depravity, and death today.
Come on, Melvin.
You know, when I first got clean, man, you know, they said don't get to a meeting and ask somebody for help. So I came in here, man, with the old way of thinking. They said recovery is that can change the whole ideas, attitudes, and behavior. So I came in the program, you know, and I wasn't looking for change. You know, people started saying things that I heard my mother say. I really thought y'all spoke to my mother. Because some of the stuff was the same kind of stuff my mother taught me when I was growing up. About people, places, and things. You know, I went to a meeting, God said, man, in order to get fucked, you got to be in position. I said, I can understand that. That's stay away from people, places, and things. You know, sometimes, you know, you got to really, like, you know, because, you know, these conventions, sometimes they ask you to curb your language, and I really do, I try, but, like, the best way I can reach an addict is through simplicity, and sometimes my simplicity is real vulgar.
It's all right, Melvin. Give it up, Melvin. Come on.
You know, and you know, sometimes I got to apologize to y'all for being who I am.
It's all right, man.
You know, but what I do is I learn, I'll grow, I'll keep coming back, I'll put a bucket here, and I'll throw some 4-letter words every once in a while in the bucket. You know, so don't count me out. You know, but on the real side, like, you know, this vicious cycle is real deep, man, in recovery, man, because when you first come into this program, man, and you stop using, you go to meetings, and you know, you create a cycle. You know, because like Narcotics Anonymous is a new way of life, man, and like, you know, there's a difference between unmanageability and not knowing. Listen, man, because I started doing a whole lot of things that made my life unmanageable, and I used to play with people and say, well, my life is becoming unmanageable as a direct result of my actions, but there was a whole lot of differences because there was a lot of stuff I just didn't know about. And there's a difference, man. There's a difference. But, like, you know, once you know, guess what, man? You can't go back to not knowing. Not knowing, man. You know, and I know that, like, when I started learning about what makes me tick, well, you know, I bought the book.
Come on, Melvin. Go
I bought 2.
That's right. You told me
You know, because, like, I need to tell y'all, man, my story is short. You know, but there's a whole lot of literature that makes it prolong itself. You know, and in this literature, man, it talks about the 4th step.
There you go.
It talks about sorting through the contradictions and the confusions
Bring it up.
in our lives. Mm-hmm. And when I came to the program of Narcotics Anonymous, there were some contradictions and confusions. So the cycle that I was in, it was some confusion because, like, I was taught, you know, it's like I was taught some principles, morals, and values, and when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, you know, I was like a kid in the candy store. You know, I need to tell y'all because, like, I was 23 years old when I got clean. You know, and I didn't get clean because I was 23. I got clean because drugs had the power to turn me into somebody I didn't want to be, and I had lost the power to do anything about it. So when I came to this program, I was thoroughly whipped. It says in our literature that those who surrender to this program, you know, have completely found this program. And I surrendered when I got here. You know, I was clean for 9 months before I surrendered, so I know that you can be clean long periods of time way before you surrender. I've been there. I'm not talking about the idealistics. I'm talking about experience. And after, you know, listen, man, after being clean for 3 years in this program,
Come on.
I had exhausted my resources.
That's right. Then what'd you do?
They were considering revoking my membership.
Tell them what you did, Melvin.
You know, you talk about unavailability. That was me. You know, it was a cycle, man. It was a cycle, man. I would get involved. I would get involved with people, man. I'm telling you, man, I would get involved with them. They say they like me. That was it. You like me, I like you. You got 10 days, I got 30. Call this a healthy relationship. It's a cycle, man. It's a cycle, man. And we let go one disease to pick up another. You know, and like my cycle went on and on. I used to always wonder why that none of my relationships ever lasted over 90 days. I couldn't even get a key tag. That's a cycle when you get involved with people and you can't last over 90 days. There's something wrong with this picture. You know, and I used to, after a while, people start saying stuff to you who care about you. In another relationship? You start getting defensive. Now, look at, you start bringing stuff out of treatment. Keep the focus on yourself. Because that statement ain't in our literature. And our literature says that we are each other's eyes and ears. You know, so like you better be careful what you listen to. Reading is fundamental. But like what I'm trying to say, right? Like it was a cycle, man, because and it just when I started realizing that like I had to get out of these relationships, man, and put some time and invest in, because I used to always worry about looking for the right person. Until I had to sort through some contradictions and find out that I had to learn how to be the right person. Because if you ain't the right person, when the right person comes, you're going to fuck the relationship up anyway. So what happened for me was, right, I started taking a searching and fearless more inventory of myself, and I realized that, like, there's some things that I hadn't been sharing about. Only with my sponsor. You know how we get when we get better? Me, my sponsor, and my network get the information. My man Easy always said your whole network can be sick just like you. So you better use the outlets for recovering addicts. The therapeutic value, the ultimate weapon. So what happened was I started sharing with people, man, and they started telling me about, because what happened was I used to share my story and people used to talk about the projects, the Melvin from the project. And you know what? I started realizing that like my ideas of dealing with people from the way that I used to hang out with the people from the projects. Them niggas ain't never had no girl either. And all the information that I had clean was some of the bad information that I had when I was hanging out with the brothers in the projects. So like I even started listening to like my, like the people when they would start talking, and I started realizing that like, I had to learn how to break the cycle. I had to start changing my playgrounds, my playmates, and my playthings. And I started to put new people in my life who were about opposite of what I was about. It wasn't that like I wasn't hanging out with nobody no more. It was just that I wasn't a leader when I got to this program. I was a follower and I got enough courage to become a leader. So I followed some people. I had some proteges when I got here. Some people who were living the program, and I wanted to be like them, but you ever wanted to be like somebody and never tell them? You ever liked somebody's character and the way that they carry themselves, but you never said anything to them? But if you were like under a certain set of situations where you were around a bunch of the fellas who didn't like that joker, you would say the same thing. Yeah, you think he all that. But deep down inside, you knew that you liked that kind of stuff like that. So I had to learn how to come in here, man, and like stand on my own 2 feet. And I need to tell y'all, when you're in the process of breaking the cycle, man, you all be accused of a whole lot of stuff.
dog.
When you start getting better, the road to recovery isn't all that popular no more.
Right. Come on.
They say that what's popular always ain't right, and what's right ain't always popular. So what happened was I had to learn how not to be popular no more. Because I wanted to get better. They says in our literature that social acceptability doesn't equal recovery. And being socially accepted and reunited with our families don't make our lives manageable. So what I had to do is I had to make a decision to turn my family over to the care of God too. And that wasn't an easy step. The third step talked about it being a giant step. And it was a giant step for me to allow my family to live their lives and me not participating in it and keep messing with them. I'm the addict. I had to go to meetings. I needed a sponsor. I had to join a home group. I had to read the literature, so why am I over there messing with them? I had to really try some new things, man. And I found out by looking into an inventory that all my brothers got involved with women and bared children, and when they got into new relationships, they no longer participated in those children's lives. We talking about a cycle here. And when I came into the program of Narcotics Anonymous, I found out that I was caught up in a cycle just like my brothers. And I had fathered two children. And when I got clean, I tried to reestablish lost principles. And I went back over to the house and I tried to because recovery teach you about responsibility, and I hear women talk about their kids and men talk about being fathers and all that. And I wanted to be what the examples of the program was, like a father to my children. When I went over there, man, and they told me, man, listen, man, in the 9th step it talks about we may direct amends to such people whenever possible, man. And when I first started getting clean, it wasn't possible. It was not possible. They was not impressed with clean time.
Don't pay the rent.
They looked at me, man, they said, be glad you go to Narcotics Anonymous and stay there. And I took my whatever I had then, my clean time and my emotions, and I got on the train and I was shattered. Shattered, man. I was crushed. I thought about quitting. Now, man, this program don't work. And man, I need to tell you, man, that I remember talking to some people, man, who had bad children in recovery, man, and couldn't make amends to their children right away, and they said, listen, man, just don't use, man, and keep coming back. And I had to talk to somebody who I've been talking to all my life before I even had a sponsor. It was called my mother. And I remember talking to my mother and telling her, she said, Melvin, listen, right now what you got to do is you got to get your own life together. So you got to put those kids on the shelf and you got to do what you got to do, man. Here's a lady, man, and I swear to God, she said she might have been sneaking in on the meetings with me. Because some of the stuff she was talking about was some of the same stuff y'all was talking about. We don't hold the monopoly in Narcotics Anonymous on how to live life on life terms. And when I was talking with my mother, she said, man, turn that over, man, and live your life, man. So when you get your life together and your children, because kids are inquisitive today. And after a certain period amount of time, they're going to want to know who their peoples are. What happened for me is that I did what y'all suggested. I didn't use. I kept coming to meetings, man, and the miracle happened and dreams come true. And I just kept coming. Man. And last Saturday before this one, I celebrated 8 years clean, right? And when I celebrated 8 years clean, right? The day after I celebrate, I usually make a meeting. I live in New York. I make a meeting in Jersey every Sunday morning. What are you willing to do to stay clean? And Sunday morning, it snowed, that blizzard, man, and I didn't go nowhere, and I stayed home, and I was in the house, and my phone rang. And when my phone rang, it was my mother on the phone. And my mother said, I got somebody here. I said, who you got there? She said, I got your daughter here. She spent the night. And she said, do you want to talk to her? I need to tell you, I haven't talked to my daughter in 6 years. And I remember when I picked up the phone and I talked to you, You know, I talked to her daughter. I said, do you know who this is? I need to tell y'all, man, kids hold a monopoly on unconditional love. I said, man, do you know who this is? She said, yes, I know who this is. I said, who's this? She said, this is my daddy. I think about you every day. And man, you know, I don't know about nobody else because, like, I'm in a relationship now, right? And the girl has 2 kids, man, and like, I practically been raising these kids for the last 4 years. And in the process of having these kids and raising them, you know, these kids have become a part of my life. I love them like they my own. But very rarely do I hear them call me daddy. So when my daughter called me daddy, it was something special about when she said, daddy, I love you. It cut right through me on the inside. It let me know that, man, miracles happen and dreams come true. You know, lost dreams awaken and new possibilities arise. And I need to tell y'all, and you know, like, man, I am happy, joyous, and free because I have an opportunity to break the vicious cycle. You know, that vicious cycle of, like, getting involved in a relationship and raising someone else's children, I have an opportunity to raise my own along with raising somebody else's children. Because it makes a difference, man. Because, like, my daddy used to always say, man, ain't nothing like your own. You know, and I need to say, like, you know, in this cycle, man, has, you know, oh, man, listen. You know, this whole recovery process, just when you think you need to be working on something, God lets you know what you really need to be working on. You know, because I need to tell y'all, you know, thank God for the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous, because had I not been practicing the 12 steps, he would not made this possible. You know, in the 9th step, by making amends, making direct amends, you know what I'm saying? I had an opportunity to make amends to my children. You know, there was a time right before my woman, my ex-girl, I still call her my woman, I just gotta get resentments with her and shit. I still want to put her through some stuff. Because I put the one I'm with now through some stuff. You know, but I'm just saying, you know, like, you know, the kids was in foster care at one point, and the person that had the kids died. And what happened was they you know, because I'm not an absent father, I just got a disease. And when you got this disease called addiction, you just can't show up. You know, I told you I had lost the power to do anything about it. And like what happened was, because they sent a letter to my house, the last known address, to see if I would respond in order for them to give her full custody of these children. And when they sent me the letter, I read the letter and I called her, and they asked me did I want to contest, you know, and I could have been vicious, could have been malicious, you know, I could have been arrogant, but I had to ask myself, who's going to suffer behind this? The kids. So I put my ego and my image to the side, and I said, yeah, I agree that she had full custody of the kids. And right after I gave her custody, she told me that you can't see them. 9th step talks about we need not to get in the shouting match. You know? So I surrendered because I knew time takes time. I had waited that long. So why not stay in the boat? You know? And you know, the joy is not in the destination, it's in the journey. And I was already in the process. So, like, what happened was, like, you know, I let that be, man. You know, when I was riding in the cab coming up here, I was telling one of my sponsees, who we have sort of like the same dilemma, I was telling him, man, that it's going to happen. You know, that, like, once we get clean and we start working the steps, stuff is going to happen in your life. You know, those things that you thought that would never happen, or some of those things that you forgot, will have to come to surface. They say that we're not responsible for our disease, but we are accountable for our recovery. And what we did in active addiction don't mean that we excuse from the past. And that like being clean and working these steps, that the past will haunt you. But it won't have you locked and loaded where you can't move. It won't have you in that process where you can't do nothing about it. You know, this is a new way of life. We got a new way of dealing with things. We got a new attitude. We have an opportunity to live this new way of life based on the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. They don't stop catastrophes that happens in our lives, but they make our reactions to these catastrophes different. We don't respond the way we used to sometimes. Based on the emotional and spiritual condition you in at the time. Because in this process, sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't. And so, like, you know, this cycle, man, you know, this cycle is like one of those cycles that repeats itself, you know, based on what you're practicing. You know, and they got some things called defects of character. You know, and those things don't disappear because we get clean. And the defects that, like, we, like, practice or arresting there at a time, you know, they come back. They come back, and sometimes they come back without notice because some things that you thought that you had a handle on for a few years, when the opportunity presents itself, because we the kind of people that we think that we master shit, because we think we master it, we bite back into insanity all over again, and we look back at ourselves and say, man, haven't I been here before?
The cycle.
And we ask ourselves some dumb questions. What do I do? That's a real dumb question if you've been there before. You know, but there's, you know, we have a disease that's forgetful. It has a primary purpose too. You know, our recovery, we got a primary purpose to stay clean and carry the message to the addict who still suffers. But the disease has a primary purpose too, to check with you for time to time to see if the thoughts and ideas of staying clean is paying off. And a lot of days, we equate recovery with materialistic things. We judge our insides with other people outside. We say to ourselves, I ain't recovering because I ain't got a new car. I ain't recovering because me and my girl ain't got this. I ain't recovering because I ain't got a girl. I ain't recovering. Listen, man. We don't need a material solution for a spiritual sickness. You know, I have a disease that's incurable and fatal. And if I place materialistic things before my emotional conditions, man, I'll fall victim and prey to some of the symptoms of the disease called addiction. You know, I need to tell y'all all the time I need to keep my mind, body, and spirit intact. That's why 3, 4, and 5 is important. God, ourselves, and then another human being. And when we get our lives out of order like that, our lives become totally unmanageable. Anything you put before God be the first thing to go. You know, I don't confess, right? I stand before y'all. I don't confess to be a spiritual giant. But what I do confess to be is a spiritual human being. You know, and I need to tell y'all, man, like, you know, having had a spiritual awakening, man, you know, as a result of these steps, you know, talk about the elements. You know, I'm not going to get into the philosophy about the spirituality. I want to talk about the elements. One of the elements they talk about a sense of direction. You know, it's hard. It's hard to know where you're going if you ain't looking. You usually round up bumping into stuff. So I have a sense of direction today. I know where I'm going. You know, I'm going to a place where my will and God's will at one point will become equal. That's where I'm going. You know? And the ability, hey, this is a good one. The ability to help other people. You know, because we the kind of people that we took things. We got things. But very rarely did we ever want to give anything back. And I'm in the position today to help other people. You know, and I like helping other people. I am one of them people that are considered a people pleaser. And the reason why I say that, because people use that word, and very rarely I beg to differ what people pleasing is really all about. For me, people pleasing is the ability to make someone else happy without any conditions on it. You know, I get happy, man, when I see other people happy. It's a gift from God to make somebody laugh, especially in the midst of a storm. That you can walk up somebody and say, you know, people come up to me and they say, man, make me laugh. You know, and you know, but for somebody, I need to tell y'all, man, just not anybody can do that. I know it's a gift, and I'm not saying that I make everybody laugh, because some people would rather be in their own shit. In spite of all the joy that's going around. You know, so I know God don't need perfect people, and perfect people don't need God. But I'm being used as a vessel to be able to carry a message. In the 12 steps, it talks about a personal style. You know, the ability to make somebody laugh is personal. You know, and I didn't come in this program brimming with love, honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. What happened for me is that I found out that there was a new way of life. I found out that I could be happy, joyous, and free. I found out that Narcotics Anonymous is not a punishment. You know, I found out that being clean and working the steps, there's a great freedom and relief between me and the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. I found out that it's okay to be clean. I found out ain't no shame in being a recovering addict. I found out that it's hip to be square. You know, I found out that a day at a time, with the help of the God of my understanding and you people, all things are possible. That I can be whatever I want. I can be whatever I want. And what I want to be is of service to this program. And my life really doesn't mean nothing without Narcotics Anonymous. That's how I feel. You know, and not everybody's going to feel like that. But you know what? If you suffered the way that I suffered, you would love to be service to Narcotics Anonymous.
Come on.
Because I was rescued from insanity, depravity, and death. And it didn't have to be like that. You know, I came in the program at 23 years old. People have been suffering 2 to 3 times my age. And God saw fit, out of all the people that was out there suffering, he chose me. I'm not saying I'm special, but listen, I can honestly say that I'm blessed. Listen, man, before I close, I want to tell you some of the beauties about being clean. I'm young. I'm black. I'm not in jail. I don't have a sexual identity crisis. I have 12-step experience. I'm willing to help other people. I got 8 years clean, and I'm the service to God. And he uses me in ways that I only could imagine. Just when I thought God has using me up and there's no more left to give, he creates an opportunity for me to do some more work. So like right now where I'm at is like I'm like really updating the recovery process. There's so much more work to do because like I've been chilling for a little while. I mean, like, people know what I'm talking about. They got some clean time. You know, you be chilling. What step you on? You know, yeah, all of them. You know, shit like that. You know, that's what we say when we got clean time. You know, what step you on? All of them. You know, that's rationalization to say, like, I ain't really been working shit. You know, been making conventions lately, you know, shit like that. But like, I'm real grateful for the opportunity to serve Boston because I didn't really share my experience, Trevor. I really came to serve God, man, because anything I got, man, anything I got has been touched by a power greater than myself. You know, everything I know I have is borrowed, man. You know, so I don't put unrealistic expectations on myself and other people. You know, I hang out with addicts that got clean time. And I'm not saying that if you ain't got no clean time, because a day clean is a miracle. But when I say I hang out with addicts who got clean time, I was talking about the ones that's really coming up to the table and bringing their stuff to the table and let you know where they at with their program. Because if you really get close to an addict who really got some clean time, don't ask them how much clean time they got. Ask them how many of the mistakes that they have made in the clean time they have been having. And you will realize that there's no superior addict to another. Because we who got clean time can, like, make no nonsense out of perfectly good sense. And because we got clean time, we will flamingo you into believing that what we doing ain't all that bad. You know, so like, you know, this is a day at a time program, so like if you see me cutting the cheese, man, listen, man, don't judge me, help me, man. You know, the 7th step talks about, you know, helping somebody out, man, pointing out their defects of character for them, man. So like, if somebody points something out to you, man, you know, like, you know, they say, you know, the truth shall set you free, but it'll piss you off first. You know what I'm saying? You know, so like, you know, accept it as a gift from God, because God used people, man. And before I go, I always ask God, man, to help me, to help us, to help them, because each and every day one of us was one of them. Thanks for listening.